Morning viewers, all the listeners all over the world who are seeing us now. I'm Gerry McFarlane, host of this program you're about to see, Beyond the Surface, coming to you from the studios of Tobago Updates Television right here in Portmore in Scarborough, Tobago. Just had a lovely view earlier, just before I came on, of Speyside. Wow, phenomenal. And then you came back to the Portmore and the Esplanade from that air shot. It was very lovely, boy. Anyway, congrats to you guys, you technicians who prepare for this program just like I do. But this morning, I have the distinct honor. She's more than a good friend of mine and, fellow Plymouthian and so on, and, is now playing an important role in the Tobago House of Assembly. So she's one of those persons that we're interviewing this morning. And I can tell you, she has a proud record of achievements, just starting from the community. However, we're going to get into that now. It takes pride in me introducing the, almost said the venerable, but honorable Councillor Certica Williams-Orr.
Hi.
I find I should take out the Williams, Where are you going with this Williams still?
It's mine. Mine.
How are you this morning?
I am fine. I'm good. Happy to be alive, experiencing soundness of mind, good health, and still being able to be here.
So wait, no, you in Plymouth and I in Plymouth. I hear you move out. It's true?
Never.
So wait, no, you have to be at occasions like these where we have to see and chat?
Well, I pass you every day, or every time I leave in fact, every time I attempt to leave the village, I have to pass you. So you
and
must place yourself
or check up the phone and call me sometimes.
You must place yourself in prominent places, in a prominent spot for me to see you.
Yeah. All right, we have plenty of things to talk about.
We do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Let us hear, what is your responsibility in the THA? Right.
All right. So I was appointed as councillor as part of the team led by Chief Secretary, the Honorable Farley Travis Augustine, in December 2021. And I was then appointed Assistant Secretary in the Office of the Chief Administrator with responsibilities for public administration, planning, and labor.
Mm-hmm. And labor?
And labor. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. How are you managing that?
Well, I am doing fine. I think what has helped me a great deal is the public service experience. Mm-hmm. It served me well then, and it is serving me well now.
Even better now?
Yes, I think so, because...
How many years in the public service?
About 41.
Oh, gosh.
About 41.
I thought it was 42. I just showed us one.
No. 1977, July to March 2018.
Oh, it's so long ago?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you...
I was home for 4 years because, and it's so coincidental that my last day of work, actual work, before proceeding on leave, before retirement, was on the 11th of December 2017. And the appointment to the office of councillor was on the 10th of December 2021. So 4 years, date to date.
Almost exactly.
Yes, right. So I had a 4-year break.
Mm-hmm.
Home
and still was involved in community activities. But let us go to the community and your work in the community before we get to the actual assembly responsibilities and so on. That we have to talk about that because this is what made you what you are and made you known for the no-nonsense, helpful, charming, I should say. Some people may say, and so on. What made you this person? The Plymouth community or parenting?
Well, both. Well, remember, Plymouth is it what it is. We belong to each other, all right? I often say, no matter how we may war in village, when we cross bridge, you don't interfere with us. We join forces out there. So I grew up there, and you see where I have lived most of my life, front road, as we would say. So you can't escape being involved. Well, of course, I like the church. Church activities. I was involved with village council. I served as president for a few years. I served with Heritage. And of course, you remember your football, Plymouth Football League and so on. So I was there. You can't help because, remember, I had brothers who were involved with sports. And my father will tag me along wherever Dazzlers was being played, was playing and so
I just
on.
can't help but remember
Right.
Dazzler's days, you know, boy.
So he will tag me along. There was this football club. He played with Broadway Tigers. That was the one by contractor. Sunjet, Bidabai Sunjet was down in my area. So you had to be tagged along. So there was no choice of being involved. All right. I think I'm involved in people's lives sometimes probably more than they would want me to, but they don't have a choice. All right? Because you want to see people do better. You want people to be encouraged that where you started the year at January 1st, that you are not in the same spot at December 31st. At least make a step. So that is my thing. All right? Sometimes I'm teacher by force. I remember taking my brother's grandchildren because when you question them in their readiness for sea and so on, and they tell you where they're at, and you say, but no, you can't be. No, you can't be in my household and be where you are. So I would tell their parents that they had to report to my house by 4. So whether I am there or not, they had to sit and wait. And then they started bringing their little friends. So sometimes I have a living room filled with little ones. And of course, they get little licks and these things and so on. But they have done well. So you continue that. That continued outside of my family.
Especially that was leading up to common entrance.
Yes, to see.
What
Yeah.
was it called common entrance at the time?
No, well, I took them when common entrance was done with. Common entrance ended in 2000. Right? So these are the ones who are doing C. So that's it.
But what about your Plymouth school time with people
Lord.
like Winford Carrington
Oh, yeah, the
and
best.
Boomer Stewart and so on?
Yeah, the best. It's unrivaled. For me, Plymouth Anglican was the greatest primary school to have existed. We moved from, remember we had people like Teacher Vida first, and then Mr. Carrington came. Well, he was creme de la creme. But Gerry, you remember the strictness of our lives. We had to walk on the correct side of the road, facing oncoming traffic. We couldn't eat on the street in pairs.
Or single file.
Yes.
And people used to shout out, "Oi, wedding!"
Right.
Remember that?
And he would
some of the
walk
villagers
streets.
used to kind of laugh.
He would walk the streets at 9 a.m. when the bell rings and warn to you if he met you taking your own sweet time. I remember I went home for lunch one day, and you know where Mr. Leaford's shop was, on our side of the street. So my mother sent me to the shop, and I did not cross the road to walk facing oncoming traffic. I just ran up the street on the same side. And those days he had monitors, prefects. And when I got back to school at 1 o'clock, my name was called as having disobeyed the school rules. I said, boy, I don't get trouble. And the report was that I was seen between 12:15, I think, and 12:55, walking on the oncoming. So I told him, my mother sent me to the shop, and it was on a few doors up. And he said to me, between 9 and 3:30, 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., he's responsible for my life. He allows me to go home to have a meal. My mother can't break his rules. And he cut my tail good and proper. But
And you never forget that, eh?
no, I never did it again. But he laid the foundation for us. In those
Because,
days,
before he came, we were we wasn't that strict, as students and so on,
But besides the strictness in behavior and attitude to life, with the lack of technology, not even, newspapers, not many homes bought a newspaper every day. He instilled in us that we must be the head and not the tail. He drilled that into us. I remember he took us to the cinema to see Sound of Music. It was $1 by bus. And I could imagine how our parents had to scramble to get this dollar. And about 2 weeks after, he had this thing with Mandy Blinds, the precision in which the dividing screens would be moved and placed in a particular order. And when he gives the command of it at the end of his address to the school, the blinds would be put back in place. And he asked us about the theme song for the movie Sound of Music. What we know about theme? We have never heard the word. We don't know what theme was. So all of us who went to the cinema stood there. And when he got his strap and he flogged the first person, by the time he got to the third, we all thought probably, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So we started to sing, do, a there, a female there. And then he said, oh, you got it, right? So theme. And that is what he did to us. We were involved in everything.
And you had to think.
Of course.
That is what I liked about him.
Right?
You had to think. You can't
We
just
were so
respond.
well behaved that there was a recreation ground where I think Mr. Carrot has a hotel now at Buku traffic lights. And we would walk from Plymouth to there to support either our football or cricket team without a teacher or a parent. And we had to walk in pairs to there and back. So the discipline, all right, you had to do well academically, and those who were not so academically inclined, he ensured that there was vocational training. Remember, he used to farm them out to Mr. Lee Mr. Lee Sent and these guys in the village who were tradesmen, or there was a center at Black Rock and one at Mason Hall. So he catered. He was very perceptive. He knew which way you were going, what stream you would be in, and he channeled us that way. I would forever be grateful to Wilford T. Carrington.
Wilford T.
Forever.
Carrington.
Yes.
Yeah. Major impact on many of us who came through that period in Plymouth. So you're involved in other things as well, things like cultural activities, sports, your football, and that kind of thing. Heritage to some extent?
Well, now I'm not involved with the heritage because for a number of years, the production at Plymouth was handled from the center. All right, I think this year may be the first time in a long time that the village council had any major role, right? I stand corrected. But leave it for the young people. No, I will, if there's advice needed, I will give, all right? I will follow Stokely Vale, sometimes not as much as I would want to. But of course, you remain patriotic, loyal, win, lose or draw. Plymouth.
Yeah, and people refer to you as the salt of the community. You're involved in every living thing they could think
Well,
about.
I try where I can. I will, because one cannot live isolated. Cannot, all right? Because when there is trouble, you holler, we run as a village, all right? With their free, so there is no need for isolation. Right?
Yeah. So let's get back now to, that's a nice little history of your activities in the community and your involvement in politics that led you to where you are. Nobody didn't have to force you to get into politics or to choose a side or a candidate. I understand you were even considered for candidacy.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true at all. My political alertness started with my mother. She was from Mount St. George, so Tobago East. And from a child, she regaled me with the tales of Fargo, APT James, and she will talk about Bigot and these guys. She talked about when Butler and they coming to have meetings, how the word will come and they will gather at Georgefield Junction, and sometimes they're late in coming. They would go back home, and then in the middle of the night, the noise will come. They meet, they're here. So they go back out with their flambeaux and so on. So
With the flambeaux at the time?
Yeah. And so she was brought up on that. Hard work, making yourself better. this politics of the movement, not sitting down. You must be able to think, listen to all sides, and make conscious decisions for yourself based on facts and not necessarily hearsay. So I grew up on that. And then what I think was the turning point for me in 1976 is that we had sixth form, and the voting age was lowered from 21 to 18. So people like myself voted for the first time. And of course, we say, out goes the PNM. And by the time the cabinet was formed, there was no ministry for Tobago affairs. So Tobago was turned on its head politically. And I started in the public service a few months after that. And Gerry, there is nothing could make me vote for PNM after that experience in that. Listen, I started at Sandy Hall. Well, it was still Tobago County Council. And the pressures, we worked, we can't get paid. Then I worked there.
All the files, I understand, was sent
6 weeks.
back to Trinidad.
6 weeks. I don't think the files were sent, but and then I was appointed temporarily at Works. So we were now under the Ministry of Works, 1 to 3 Edward Street, Port of Spain. So every voucher, every directive, every instruction had to come from 1 to 3 Edward Street. People like myself worked for 9 months before getting a day's pay. We got to work at 8 a.m. and in that day, getting to work late was taboo with your parents. You can't get to work late. So we got to work at 8. And every voucher had to be prepared to be sent to Trinidad so that it could be checked for correctness, passed for payment, and checks issued. So we worked from 8 a.m. to like 2 a.m. the next day, just as we are, because an officer had to go to Trinidad on the first flight every day, Monday to Friday.
What?
With this,
Really?
of course, to take vouchers, every voucher, every pay sheet, every voucher for goods and services. We prepared and the officer. So we worked 8 a.m., 8 to 1, 2 a.m. the next day. We couldn't go home because everything had to be ready. And an officer would take the bag, go to Trinidad, and you hope that there was not an error on anything that was done, because it meant a supplier couldn't be paid, it meant civil servants couldn't be paid, it meant the daily rated people couldn't be paid. And we worked like that for years at that old works building. That for me was a slap in the face of Tobagonians for exercising their civic duty and for exercising their opinion, political or otherwise, as guaranteed by the Constitution. And as right-thinking people, we suffered. And that continued until caste was created, right? So our vouchers were now taken up the street, well, what we'll call the treasury. That is what brought a little ease to Tobagonian. We suffered when we had to get an approval as civil servants. You had to go down the service commissions department. Well, we had to go to works first. Those days you didn't say HR, the personnel department was at the corner of Queen and Henry Street. You had to go there. You had to sit down and beg. They had to look for the recommendation that came. Sometimes they tell you, carry it up to the service commission. The service commission was on Charlotte Street, 151B Charlotte Street, opposite the hospital. You had to walk up Charlotte Street, carry it, beg somebody in the service commission, please help us. It was a very demeaning period in our lives as Tobagonians. It just wasn't right. And we suffered and we endured. And then, of course, we had our champion. Mr. Robinson. And the establishment of the Tobago House of Assembly is what brought the little ease. And sometimes it wasn't easy because there were officers.
But before the THA, they had CAS.
Yes,
CAS.
so we started
Central Administrative Services, right?
Tobago. And then that is what brought a little ease. And then there was the...
And then they had a permanent secretary assigned.
Yes, yes.
But the permanent secretary is also always there, even when they send anything to Trinidad.
No.
When they dismantled the ministry, they didn't have a permanent
No,
secretary.
there was no Ministry for Tobago Affairs anymore. So there was no need for PS.
Oh, okay.
Right? There was no need for PS. Right? So there was the chairman at the county council. Right? But that period.
Yeah. We have to go for a quick break. But before we go for a break, I just want to say Scarborough RC have their fundraising book fair at the Scarborough RC School today from 9:30 to 4:30. So try and get your book fair. Oh my God, they have the thing right up there, man. Scarborough RC Book Fair is today 9 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. at Scarborough RC. As they say at the Scarborough RC and the fundraising team, reading is key to children's success. Go and get your books. I saw some of those books, and the value of some of those books is extremely important and really reasonable. So get your books today at the Scarborough Roman Catholic School Library. Do what you could and make your children read. So we go for a quick break and come back. Yes, we back, folks, and we continue to be chatting here with Certica Williams-Orr. I am told that I must always say the Williams and maybe always say the O as well. But Certica, we want to deal with your responsibilities currently at the Tobago House of Assembly, where responsibility administration, public administration, planning, and labor. What did public administration comprise of?
Well, public administration in itself has to do with the implementation of government policies and so on. So you're planning, you're controlling, you're directing that. And
It
in
has
this
to do
case,
with assembly policy as well.
and I was just going to say, in this case, most importantly, the Tobago House of Assembly, right, is not just at the national level, but also whatever policies that the THA has constitutional rights for under the 5th schedule and so on. All right? So you're responsible for implementing. All right? And implementation means it must be done transparently, there must be accountability, it must benefit all in the same way, no
You can't
bias,
discriminate.
no, and so on, right?
No room for nepotism and that sort of
Shouldn't
thing.
be at all, all right? So you deal with that. Planning, of course, there is the Department of Planning that will help all divisions with managing their development programs, their funding, their progress, and so on. And of course, that division is preparing itself for the full rollout of the tongue and country planning responsibilities and so on. We're not there yet. There's still some work to be done at the ministerial level, Ministry of Planning and Development. And I think also there is to be some approval of cabinet for some aspects. All right, so we wait on that. But the Executive Council is fully aware of what is to come and there have already been approval for certain aspects. So we're waiting. All right, but you're getting yourself ready for when it is fully yours. The Department of Labor deals with employment and manpower issues, more so helping the private sector. All right.
You help the private sector with what, like ads or promoting
They
some particular
ads, they
position or
ads.
something?
They maintain database. So if an organization or an entity says, listen, I am looking for there is this vacancy and I'm looking for someone to fill here with a particular skill set and so on. The database will help if there is not
So
open
there is a
advertisement.
database in
Yes,
labor
yes,
that provides
that helps,
some
yes.
vacancies, or what should be the terms and conditions of the person as well?
No, the employer would decide the terms and conditions. What the labor could do is help you, all right? But they will develop the database. So people will go say, listen, I have a certificate in plumbing, I am a carpenter, I'm a licensed electrician and that kind of thing, and they would maintain that database. So if there is need, all right, and an employer says, listen, I am looking for a particular skill set, do you have anybody? They can point, all right? They also conduct training exercises. They ensure that employers are aware of our labor laws, right? So you don't run afoul and end up in any industrial relation issues. Right? They're good at that. So.
Yeah. And back to, if you go to administration a little bit, you satisfied with the way the administration is working, the public service really? How they take long to do things, people not very conscientious as they used to be before. You quite satisfied with that?
You have to be specific.
Are you satisfied
Tell me
with the
exactly.
level of efficiency that this public service work with?
Don't give me the general view. Be specific, right? I may be on this side of the divide now. I'm public servant at heart.
I know,
Right?
but I'm just asking, are you fully satisfied?
I believed in my 41 years was good work. Those who work with me will tell you that I was a very hard taskmaster. Very hard.
We know all of that.
Demand
But what is it?
So tell me, what is your pet peeve now? Tell me.
Even if you were the good master and able to drive them, those people who you work with and who you supervise, and you're in a senior position and so on, you think the 4 years after you left, you think situations have improved at the public service level?
Let me be honest. We can do better. We can do better.
In what areas you think we can do better? People taking public servants, people taking very long to respond to the public in many areas. They come for particular type service,
Like
they
what?
can't
Tell
get it.
me, like
Just
what?
anything like tractor pool or getting an approval or getting something to do,
tractor
all these kind of
pool,
things,
I don't think
people take
tractor
exceptionally long to deliver the service to the public.
I am sure the Secretary for Food Security
Trying her
has
best.
ventilated on several occasions what issues with tractor pool were. Lack of equipment and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we rest in that.
And even, no, you can't just rest. Anyway, we could
Right,
deal with
no,
that.
because
But I'm just saying
a
the
lot has
general
been done
attitude
now.
of the public service is...
So if you're telling me
just-
about absenteeism, about
Yeah.
late coming,
all of those issues.
are they tardy? Listen, Gerry, productivity is bad in some areas. It is bad. All right? Whether we like it or not, it is bad. And sometimes I look and I try to find the root cause. Is it because people are unpunctual? Are they irregular? If that is it, then administrators have avenues to deal with that. All right?
I tell you stories of some administrators.
Administrators and heads of departments are equipped to deal with that. So if it is not dealt with and is left to slide, that is the responsibility of senior officials. All
A
right?
senior official in Office of the Chief Secretary, Planning, in Office of the Chief Secretary, Finance, gave an officer, junior
Finance, make up your mind. Division of Finance or Office of the Chief Secretary?
to him, Office of the Chief Secretary under Finance.
The Office of the
But they just-
Finance, Mr. McFarlane, Finance and Office of the Chief Secretary are two different divisions. So make up your
All
mind.
right, okay. In Finance,
Right.
this officer gave this junior officer a poor performance report. And he complained and took it to his seniors and his peers. And instead of the PSL, listen, you must try and do better and don't get this report. All of them cry down the senior officer, all of these public servants, what you're doing, what we have to hear, we all have to look out for each other and cover up little things and so on. You know, that was the situation.
Mr.
And
McFarlane,
I'm telling you, the thing was so, it came across to me as this is a level of pride and level of efficiency in the public service that people want to associate with poor reports and poor assessments.
but you know the story got three sides. Yours, the teller, three sides, and there's the untold. Now, performance management in the public service. There are the rules. The Public Service Commission regulations is quite clear. And then there are the guidelines managing performance as issued by the personnel department. All right? Now, a poor grade is not to be given to an officer at the end of a reporting period without the officer or the one who is being reported on being told or informed of his or her deficiencies throughout the reporting period. So if the reporting period is January to December 31st, you cannot wait until November when the as we call it, performance appraisal report comes to you as a senior official to report on someone under your charge. That you are now saying, but I noticed XYZ in the 12-month period. No. That officer is to be told throughout the reporting period of all the gaps and be given opportunity to do better. It's either you doing better for yourself or the department as a whole is going to help you to do better. So if
So in the absence of that, if it's not being followed, people gonna just get long time it used to be box 5 or something, or what?
But the officer,
perfect grade. Everybody gonna get perfect grade,
the officer,
and the whole
Mr.
thing is just gonna
McFarlane,
almost reach a point of collapsing.
as you say, walking up and down complaining about a poor report, there is provision on the very PAR for the officer who is being reported upon to say that I object, right? I object, and to list the objections. So there is no need to walk up and down and to seek sympathy. All right? Because the officer who is being reported upon must view that report before the countersigning officer affix his or her signature. Right? It is not done by
So what advice you have to give to all these people who are working so hard, getting their good proper report, and people who are working half, even some of them are even coming to work and demanding serious and positive reports just like them.
As I said, Mr. McFarlane,
Very demotivating to some of the people who are doing so well.
If deficiencies are noticed during a reporting period, officers are to be informed. And to be informed, you start verbally. There is something called progressive discipline. You start verbally, and then it's pen to paper, right? You do that. I can't sit here and say what advice I will give. What is to be done is to be done. That's the correct thing.
Is there any attempt in the public service right now, presently? I mean, almost every administrator I speak to have some issues about the public service, where they themselves came from. There's an issue some years ago, which I always remember. Some guys from fisheries, they go out to monitor the reef boats and so on. Patrol officers. They went to the administrator and said, administrator, we're not comfortable going out there, rain the sprinklers, the wave the sprinklers. When we go out there, sometimes a little wave come and the sprinklers, and sometimes rain fall and wet us as we go out there to take the thing. The administrator watched them in the face and said, listen, only do all you want to do. I have too much things to do. And that was the end of the matter. They just stopped. They just stopped. Go out and patrol.
Stop what?
They just stopped go out and patrol.
And
Because the administrator did.
So the head of the fisheries department sat there and accepted that behavior from his or her juniors.
I don't know what happened. I just was told by senior persons in the division, that is what the administrator said. So the administrator didn't put down her foot to say, well, listen, all you get serious and do all your work seriously.
Mr.
In spite of,
McFarlane
don't come with this
also-
flimsy excuse to me and tell me that rain falling, you're getting sprinkled and all that kind of thing.
We operate in this country under OSH Act. And there is an obligation and a duty on both employer and employee to provide safe and healthy workplace. So a patrolman could object to work if he is not provided with his PPE. He could object to work, but he has to report somewhere. We feel that when we object to work, it means that I could stay home. No. If you object because there is risk, the employer is duty bound to tell you, sit down here. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm
administration-
getting even more worried as we speak,
No,
Certica, because
you can't be worried.
I'm feeling that people like yourself, who should know better and should aim to ensure that we have a more effective public service, and feel that those people who don't really work, or those people who don't really follow the rules, as you say, you know, we're going to just have this
I
spinning
resent that,
around
Mr.
in this matter
McFarlane.
all the time.
I
time.
resenting that, right? No, I am resenting that because there is no way that I would sit as the assistant secretary in the office of the chief secretary, with responsible for public administration, and allow all hell to break loose and everything to slide. No, no, Mr. McFarlane, no. I'm resenting that.
Oh boy. And I mean, so many instances I have where people do poor work, don't work.
Well,
Some
if
people
they
go to
don't
England, spend 6 weeks. You know, they even ask for permission. They come back, they get paid, and some of them even get traveling. You know, all these things
But
happen in
Mr.
the very public service, and nobody just accepts
is
that.
why they are heads of departments. And there is an administrator at the head of each division.
I think you lost touch with some of these people who are presently there right now. Those heads
Right.
of division and those administrators. Listen to some of their complaints, Certica, right
How
now.
dare
What is
you
happening?
complain? They are the heads. You're not just there in title.
Some of them fed up. I'm telling you,
Have they
administrators
complained in
fed up.
writing?
What were you talking about? Look,
So if
I
the
want to talk about all. I want to take the tour around to deal with all these
if
things,
the
you know. But
administrators fed up,
I'm saying many of the administrators fed up.
have they escalated it to the next level?
What is the next level? Who, they had to escalate the next level, or the other people below them had to escalate it up to she, and then,
Well, then
some
the
of the kind of things that
can't
escalate.
complain.
But-
If it has not gotten to them as yet, they can't complain. If heads of departments cannot manage, then there is another level, the administrator. If the administrator cannot deal with, there is another level.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, they say we have to go for a break. Let me go for a break when we come back.
What time?
Good morning, Tobago.
Hey guys, viewers, we're back and we continue chatting with Certica. And I want to tell you that we're going to have another program specifically to deal with public service and having it reform. And one secretary told me bluntly, there may be we should abolish the public service. You know, I am sticking out for reform because I know there are quite a few people who work real hard, damn hard in the public service. And there are too many people in the public service who don't care a hoot about providing services to the public. So
Well,
you don't have to
public
respond
service-
to that.
Public service reform has been with us now for, as the old people would say, donkey years.
Donkey
You
years.
remember
Since
the
Nebuchadnezzar was a pebble.
remember Gordon Draper and that whole exercise. with
Exactly. I
Gordon
was even
Draper?
part of the exercise in the early
Then we
days.
had
You know?
papers by Reggie Dumas. A couple years ago, it was started again. I think there was a consultancy with Canadian firm, I think. And we are still where we are.
Yeah,
So we
because
wait.
many people don't want to bite the bullet and to ensure that we have good public service
Well,
in this place.
it's a political will. You can't blame anybody else. It's a political will.
But you have a service commission. You have a public service commission. And then they must know how they're regulating people, how they're disciplining people, and how they're promoting people, and how they're bringing the best out of people to have a service that we could be proud of.
Public Service Commission can be responsible for the reform. That is Ministry of Public Administration and the Personnel Department.
Whoever,
Right? So,
there need to be
get the
serious reform
political will.
in the public service. Serious reform. People have to be much more committed and more serious and more businesslike in what they do in the public service.
Right.
We go on to some politics here, and I know the minority leader had indicated or made some comment some time ago that you were wearing UNC colors or something like that.
Please.
How do you respond to these kind of comments?
Listen, let us forgive the minority leader. The dialogue about tying every other political party except the PNM that is opposed to the PNM in this little island, there is always the mantra of the PNM is to link them with the UNC. All right? I don't know what is the basis for that, but let me say here this morning, is it that you are saying to Tobagonians, the UNC came out of the bowels of the East Indian ethnic grouping, and as Tobagonians, we are the greater percentile of blacks. So we should not have anything to do with the East Indian community. Is it that? Is it that what they're trying to say to us as Tobagonians? So we should fear East Indians. But Mr. McFarlane, you can't come to Tobago and tell me that. When I look at the composition of the PNM slate for any election, the composition of the parliamentary bench, both lower and upper house, check the composition. So you're telling us in Tobago, fear the East Indian, but they're down there hugging them up. You're hugging them up down there.
Yeah.
So let us
So you find this comment was out of order or not appropriate or just...
He's just misguided. Right? The other thing is, what probably he doesn't know is that in this struggle for internal self-government for Tobago, for this THA, if Mr. Robinson did not have the support of Basdeo Pandey and Rafiq Shah and these people, there could not have been a Tobago House of Assembly for he to sit there today. Right? So he must understand and know these things. And I will wear yellow any day, every day.
As you feel too.
As I feel. But the symbol of the PNM has yellow in it. So you don't even know what colors make up your own symbol.
All right.
Misguided.
You seem to be, we have about 4 more minutes again. And I must bring up this piece here with, you seem to be a thorn in the side of the Prime Minister, or a thorn in his belly, or a thorn in his throat. You know, what is happening on these comments and the Prime Minister have made over the past few months, I think? What really happened? Did he misunderstood you or something?
Oh boy, listen. I didn't know that the Prime Minister knew me that well. Well,
He may be hearing things about
no,
you.
he knows me quite well. Don't get mixed up. He knows me quite well. Don't get tied up at all. But you see, Mr. Rowley has displayed over the years that ranting and raving belongs to him. And he must say what he wants about anybody. And nobody must respond. Not Idris' child. Not Idris' one child. That ain't happening. I didn't interfere. Listen. the thing was simple. It had to do with this issue of the vacancy at the THA as chief administrator. And of course, utterances were made. I think he had a press conference on the 12th of May. And he spoke about the absence of a deputy chair of the Public Service Commission. And that vacancy was going to be filled the very afternoon at 2 p.m. by an appointment of an individual by the president. And he alluded to the fact that it was that vacancy that prevented the appointment of an officer to the chair, to the office of chief administrator. And I said, but no. The Constitution says that there shall be a Public Service Commission. There shall be a chairman, a deputy chair, not less than 2, not more than 4 other members. So the commission could comprise from 4 to 6 persons. And the absence of a deputy chair does not make the Public Service Commission unconstitutional.
That's correct.
Because clearly there was a chairman. All right?
And clearly there is a quorum.
There was a quorum. And even if the deputy or the chair are absent from a meeting, the other members can decide among themselves who would chair for the day and so record. All right?
And that is catered for.
That is catered for in the Constitution, 120, right? But more than that, just a couple of days before, an officer who apparently was appointed to act as chief administrator by the very service commission, that letter of appointment was apparently withdrawn and the said officer placed on suspension. And
By the very Public Service Commission.
yes, so I asked,
And without a
Well, I
deputy
asked.
chairman.
I ask if the vacancy of a deputy chair meant that a chief administrator could not be appointed, who suspended the other officer? Who suspended? Or did the commission become unconstitutional after the letter was issued to the other officer? Right? So it didn't make sense because in my mind, and I was going with what the Constitution says and the Public Service Regulation says, and I held the view that the Public Service Commission was properly constituted and could not prevent the appointment of an officer to sit as chief ad. But that was hypocrisy, right?
So you pointed out that to them. And
Yeah, I
apparently
said that in the public space, right? And I don't make confusion. No, it's the truth, it's the plain facts. Tell our people the truth. Don't do that to our people, right? Don't do that to us at all as a people, no. Put the facts out there, people can make what, they can interpret it whichever way, but place the truth in the public space, right? So he continued, I not worried about that. I am not shaken.
I like how you defend yourself and justify your comments
I'm
and
not
so on.
shaken.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not looking for cheap political points. I'm not doing that.
Where we think, what's the next step you think the Tobago House of Assembly should take as we move forward? What are some of the critical
Well,
issues?
let me tell you,
We have 2 minutes to deal with that. 2 minutes.
Two areas that I am hoping in this fiscal year, well, not hoping, that I am going to ensure take place this fiscal year. One is to bring some ease and some hope to our people here when it comes to their pension. Under OCS, we are going to
You have a pension and leave section there, right?
it's scattered throughout the divisions.
Or each division of the pension and leave
Yes,
section.
what we are going to do during this fiscal is to centralize it under OCS, one place. So to bring ease to Tobagonians. people should not be waiting any longer, 2-3
But I got the
years.
impression that that division is one of the hard-working division and bringing some relief as we
It
speak.
is still bad. It is still very bad because we're disaggregated. We all over the place. All right. Each division is responsible for compiling the records and so on, but we want to pull it to the center. And
But I always got the impression, talking to some of these administrators and so on, that that division is much better than it was many years ago.
Well, I'm not too sure about that part. All right.
Okay.
We are going to do the public officers first. All right. The daily rated can stay where they are for now. Right, because the issue with the daily rated is in most part when they are to get that second part of their benefits. All right, that is just yesterday somebody met me at Shaw Park and said the husband has been home for 5 years and cannot get it. Right,
And who's responsible for that? Not the public service, right? According to you, the public
well,
service.
it depends. No. It could be. I'm not sure if it's a funding issue or it was a deliberate administrative issue, right? Whether the approval was sought, now that won't get me vexed, right? The approval was sought, if it was obtained and it is lying somewhere in a division. Or is it just that the volume to
Or
be
if
paid?
the public servants don't want to look for the man records and have the man records
No, it got the
straight.
first part. So the record part of it is fine, except probably for the last 12 months of his service. All right? But he has gotten that. Because you remember the daily paid, their retirement benefits is paid in 2 parts.
2 tranches, like.
Right. One is paid straight from the director, comptroller of accounts, and one is paid by the division here. All right? The teachers, we are doing, as I said, we're doing the public service first. Teachers, because they are in one division, all right, we will do them next. Good, but the public other, let me say the civil servants, because they are scattered throughout the THE and sometimes outside of the THE. Could be at CAST, could be at a ministry or department in Trinidad.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
And you see, the thing with us, in most part, if an officer is appointed to a ministry or department in Trinidad, they stay there. Except they are promoted or appointed outside of. You stay there, most time you spend your life there. But under the THE, you know, you're here today, you're somewhere else tomorrow and so on. We want to alleviate that and pull our records, get our record keeping vaults and areas, you know, sanitized, up to mark and that kind of thing. And in addition, the Public Service Academy must become reality.
And where's a public service academy and national public service
No,
academy?
this is first in the
Tobago Public Service Academy.
THE. Because there is also a public service academy under the Ministry of Public Administration. But this is for the staff here, right?
I don't know how that's going to help changing the attitudes of people.
Of course, we're doing that too.
I wish you will. And I really
I
hope
will
that you
succeed.
succeed.
I will.
And I really hope that you succeed and you change the attitude of the
Because
majority of quite a few people in the public service.
We are
Some
going
of
to
them who are
succeed.
really doing their best, you know. Some of them working night, going home all hours of the night, trying to get things done in some of them divisions. And while other people come in whatever time they want to come in the morning, whatever time they want to leave in the day,
But Mr.
and when the time comes for one of the
McFarlane,
officers to
you
give them
beat
a assessment,
You
they give them a
beat
poor
that.
grade, and they're making hell breaking loose in the place.
But the
I don't
thing
know,
about
too
it-
much ambivalence and insecurity and incompetence in the public service. Certica, I wish you well. And I really
Thank
hope,
you.
I wish you well, but I really hope people change their
I
attitude.
may be little, but I'm going to be proven to be Talawa.
Folks, this brings us to the end of the program. Don't forget the book fair at Scarborough RC this morning. And for more information, you could contact Dr. Alfred, Rosalind Alfred, right? That comes up there. And also tomorrow we are going to have, as another member of the assembly coming in, Sonny Craig will be here tomorrow. And we have a lot to talk about Sonny Craig and what he's doing and his position in the Tobago House of Assembly. That's supposed to be a pretty exciting one. Thank you very much, viewers. And Certica, I want to thank you very much, my
You're
dear.
most
Maybe we
welcome.
had to have more like this for me to see you, and you living in Plymouth. You're ashamed.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Take care, folks. See you tomorrow. God's blessings, and have a lovely week and weekend that is coming up. See you. God bless.